Today I show you how to make your game look beautiful with color palettes and a custom cube map to give your game a certain feel and vibe. Transition music. In GIMP we create a new canvas with the height of 512 to 512. In the layer section we rename our layer to positive and negative. Make sure your spelling is correct. That's a very important step, extremely important. So GIMP knows how to stitch the cube together, like orientation and which layer belongs to which side. Now we have a positive and negative layer, we have to assign it to the X, Y and Z direction. So I copy the layer and I rename them accordingly. For example, for the positive X layer, we call it positive space X. Make sure the X is lowercase. Do this for all the 6 sides of the cube. If we look at Unreal's documentation about cube maps, you can see the layout for the specific layer. You have the positive x-axis. If I nudge it a little bit back, you have the negative x-axis, the positive y-axis and the negative y-axis, etc, etc. Just let me sort the layers for a bit. Now you want to find a good color palette. A good color palette can give your game a certain feel or vibe. But you don't have to come up with your own color palettes. You can use sites like Color Hunt, or you can use Adobe Colors, where you can pick a color and then a color harmony and choose your own color palette, kinda. But if you really don't want to use that, that's fine. You can also go to Low Specs, which has great resources, not just for pixel art, but you can also use it for 3D games. This site has example pictures, so you can see the vibe of the color palette, which is tremendously helpful if you want to pick a color palette for your scene to get a specific vibe. Let's choose a color palette. Let's choose Pastel Pop because it looks nice and definitely not because of the Kirby. You can save the color palette as a PNG, just right click it and go to save. Or because we use GIMP or GIMP, it's GIMP. You can actually download the color palette as a file and just pop it into GIMP. GIMP. Is it GIMP or GIMP? Write it down in the comments. Now in GIMP, you go to the color palette panel. If you don't have the panel, just click on that arrow there and select the color palette space. Now right click and click import color palette, choose your color palette. Now on the left side, the same spiel, you should check if you have the color palette space, and there you can select the color palette panel selector, I don't know, something like that. You just do the same thing I do and you're fine. And now you have the color palette in GIMP. You can go ahead and color in the different layers. The process of coloring the layers is like that. If you imagine a cube, negative C is the bottom and the positive C the upper face, and X, Y I think doesn't really matter, like I just color them in how I feel like it. Mostly positive X and the positive Y have the same color, and the negative X and the negative Y also has the same color. If we are done, we can save it as a template, so we don't have to do it every time when we want a new cube map. Now we come to the exporting. First we have to select export as, then we have to select the DDS file format, click export, and now on the second window we just have to set it as a cube map and we have to generate mid-maps, and that's pretty much it. We can export it. If your cube map option is grayed out, that means your naming convention is wrong, so you have to check that. Otherwise, good job, you created your own cube map in GIMP. In Unreal, I have a scene with a tree. Now let's go ahead and build a little scene, like a kind of puzzle game-ish thing or something, I don't know. I just placed a few cubes around the scene. I scaled the tree down because it's a pretty big tree. Yeah, and I'm done. That's kind of the scene I'm going for. Maybe not the most beautiful thing, but you know, we make it beautiful. First, we import our cube map into Unreal or Unity, Godot, whatever you use. In Unreal, we can use either the post process with a cube map, or we can use a skylight with the cube map. There are a few things to consider if you use the post process or the skylight. Especially the skylight has a few quirks, so I don't like to use it there, but you can do whatever you want. And if you see, everything is lit with our cube map and it looks just way nicer that way. Just let me use a different cube map, which makes things more obvious. And if I plug that cube map into the post process, we should see it looks pretty good. We can make it look better if we use a sphere as background. First we scale the sphere, enable reverse cull and disable the shadow. Now we make a material so we can color the sphere. For that we plug a color into the base color and in the emission. For the material you can either use unlit or you can use default lit, which gives you a natural gradient. Also activate two-sided. If you want to use the cube map with your skylight, you have to deactivate lower hemisphere to solid. Also you may want to deactivate lumen for that, which makes things look way nicer. Now enough with that scene, let's go to another scene where we have a character. If you look at the character, you see it's kind of stylized, like it has very hard lighting, and you can actually leave it like that or deactivate or smooth it out. For example, if you use the skylight, you can just use smooth lighting. There's no in-between thing, it's just smooth. So if you want to have like a smooth lighting, use skylight. If you want to have like sharp, very sharp lighting, use the post-process. That said, you can use the post-process and still have it smooth. For that, you have to go to the texture. You have to set the MIP-gen settings to angular. With that, you have very smooth coloring and lighting. I use that lighting technique in my upcoming game, Tripknot, which is a whimsical parody of climbing up games, which already is a parody genre. Just think getting over it, mixed with only up, but accompanied by whimsical, funny characters, which has some very not so funny voice lines.
I think the best course of action is to kill yourself.
Thanks for sticking around. You are awesome. If you like what you saw, you can support me if you wishlist Tripknot, and I hope you had fun with the game. That's it. That's the end of the video.